What happens when a shy sister is forced to take her twin's place, and the world's coldest billionaire starts melting only for her? Ava Sinclair had always lived in the quiet shadow of her twin sister, Aria. Aria was the glamorous one, bold, dazzling, and fearless, while Ava preferred blending into the background with books, soft sweaters, and warm tea. But the day Aria burst into their small apartment with trembling hands and mascara-streaked cheeks, everything changed.
Ava, I messed up.
I signed a marriage contract with Xavier Hale.
Ava froze.
The Xavier Hale? The untouchable billionaire, ruthless in business, unreachable in emotion? Aria continued, it was supposed to be a fake marriage for money, but I can't go through with it. I'm leaving the country tonight. If I break the contract, Xavier will ruin me. He has every legal right to. Ava felt the world tilt. So what do you want from me? Aria grabbed her shoulders, desperation burning in her eyes.
Pretend to be me. Just for a while.
Until I figure things out.
Ava's breath caught.
Pretend to be Aria? Marry a billionaire on her behalf? The idea was absurd, dangerous. But when she looked at her sister, terrified, cornered, defeated, Ava felt a loyalty she couldn't explain. And so, the next morning, wearing Aria's red lipstick and fitted dress, Ava walked into Xavier Hale's penthouse. The moment he turned to face her, cold eyes softening for a split second, her heart thudded painfully. You're late, he said, voice like velvet wrapped around steel. Ava bowed her head to hide her trembling.
I'm here now.
Xavier studied her, confused by something he couldn't name. For the first time in her life, Ava realized a dangerous truth. She wasn't just stepping into Aria's life. She was stepping into a lie that could destroy them all. Xavier Hale was a man trained to read people.
Lies, motives, weaknesses.
He built empires on intuition sharper than any blade.
And yet,
something about Aria felt different. As Ava walked beside him through his marble corridors, Xavier's gaze drifted to her hands. They were gentle, steady, nothing like the bold, flashy look Aria was famous for. Ava quickly tucked them away. What happened to your confidence?
Xavier asked.
You were fiery during our negotiations. Ava swallowed hard. People change. But Xavier didn't look convinced. Their wedding was small, cold, signed and sealed like a business deal. Ava recited the vows with trembling sincerity, and though Xavier insisted the marriage was only a contract, something flickered in his expression when she whispered, I do. Later that night, Xavier poured whiskey at his private bar while Ava lingered by the window of the penthouse. City lights sparkled beneath her, a world she didn't belong to. You seem different today, he said without looking at her. Ava's heart pounded. Is that bad? Xavier stepped closer, his voice low. No. Just unexpected. Their eyes met, and Ava realized he wasn't as unreadable as the world believed. There was tiredness behind his confidence. Loneliness behind his power. A man who learned to build walls long before he built wealth. And in that moment, Ava saw the real Xavier. But Xavier also sensed something in her, warmth, honesty, softness. Qualities Aria never showed. He didn't know it yet. But the woman he married wasn't the twin he bargained for. She was the one he never knew he needed. Xavier Hale didn't believe in coincidences. So when Aria suddenly preferred quieter dinners, softer clothes, and avoided eye contact, he noticed. He noticed everything. Ava tried to memorize Aria's old habits from photos and social media posts. The confident poses, bold fashion choices, sharp expressions. But Xavier noticed the slip-ups. Like the day he invited her to a charity gala. Aria would have said yes instantly. Ava, however, froze. Do we have to go? Xavier raised an eyebrow. You insisted on attending last year. Ava quickly forced a smile. I changed my mind. His gaze lingered on her face for too long. She felt exposed, like a glass window pretending to be steel. On the night of the gala, Xavier watched her descend the staircase in a flowing silver gown. Ava didn't walk like Aria. She glided. Gentle. Graceful. Nervous. Xavier extended his hand. Shall we? Her breath caught as she placed her hand in his, electricity shooting through her palm. He felt it too, His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Inside the event hall, whispers followed them. Is that Ava Sinclair? She looks different. Xavier finally softened her? But the real danger came when Xavier's business rival, Julian Mercer, approached with a sly smile. A pleasure, Arya, Julian said, lifting her hand for a kiss. Ava flinched just slightly, but Xavier saw it. Julian chuckled. You're not as sharp as you used to be. Xavier's hand wrapped protectively around Ava's waist. She doesn't owe you familiarity. But as he led her away, Xavier whispered, You're hiding something. Ava's heartbeat stuttered. He didn't know how close he was to the truth, and she didn't know how much she wished she could finally tell him. It happened on one rainy night. Ava had been trying for weeks to keep her distance, to keep Xavier from getting close enough to see the cracks in her disguise. But closeness with him felt inevitable, like gravity pulling sun and moon together. When lightning cracked outside the penthouse, a loud thunderclap made Ava jump. She hated storms. Always had. Arya didn't. Xavier looked up from his paperwork. You're trembling. I'm fine, she whispered too quickly. Then the power went out. Darkness swallowed the room and Ava gasped, hands reaching blindly for stability. Xavier's voice came calmly from the shadows. Ava? She froze. He had never said her real name before. Xavier stepped closer, illuminated only by the faint lightning from outside. You said your name just now. Her heart seized. No, I didn't. Another thunderclap. Ava flinched. Her breath hitched and Xavier instinctively pulled her against his chest. Warmth. Safety. His scent, cedar and stormy nights. I won't let anything happen to you, he murmured. Ava's hands clutched his shirt. She shouldn't have done it, but the fear, the darkness, the comfort, it all broke her. Xavier, she whispered, voice trembling. He gently tilted her chin upward, searching her eyes with rare tenderness. Why do you look at me like that? Because she was falling for him. Because she was lying to him. Because he cared in ways he didn't understand. Their breath mingled. Their lips hovered inches apart. Ava closed her eyes, ready to surrender, when the lights flashed back on, and Ava jerked away as though burned. Xavier stood frozen, stunned by emotion he never meant to feel. That was the moment they both knew. This marriage was no longer business. It was becoming something dangerously real. Xavier Hale didn't fall for people. He didn't trust smiles. He didn't believe in love. But suddenly he found himself observing his wife, Arya, with an intensity that unnerved him. When Ava laughed softly at a funny cooking video, something Arya never would have watched, Xavier paused in the doorway, stunned by how warm it sounded. When she made tea and handed him a cup without thinking, he stared at her as though she'd handed him the moon. Arya hated making anything for anyone. When she tucked her hair behind her ear while reading, Xavier couldn't focus on his work for the rest of the night. She was different, softer, kinder, real, and it terrified him. One morning, he caught her watching him with a longing she quickly hid. His chest tightened at the sight, something warm spreading through him like sunlight cracking through cold stone. Is everything all right? She asked. Xavier hesitated. You're not what I expected. Ava's heartbeat stumbled. In a bad way? He shook his head slowly. In a way I can't figure out. Her breath caught. He reached out, hesitant, uncharacteristically gentle, and brushed a stray strand of hair from her cheek. Ava froze, her skin tingling beneath his touch. You confuse me, he murmured. Everything about you confuses me. Ava swallowed hard, torn between truth and the lie she lived in. Xavier stepped back, clearing his throat as if embarrassed by his own vulnerability. I don't know what you're doing to me, he admitted, but I can't look at you the same way anymore. Ava turned away so he couldn't see her eyes glisten. Because she felt the same. Because she wanted the same. Because the truth was slowly destroying her inside. And yet, she couldn't stop falling. The nightmare arrived at 3:12 p.m. Ava had just stepped out of the shower when her phone buzzed with a number she hadn't seen in weeks. Her sister. Ava, Arya whispered urgently, I'm back. Ava felt her blood run cold. What? You said you needed time.
I ran out of money. And I need the marriage money, Ava. I need Xavier. You have to step aside.
Ava's breath caught painfully. Arya, it's not that simple anymore.
What do you mean?
Arya demanded. Then her voice sharpened. You're catching feelings, aren't you? Ava couldn't answer. Oh my God, Arya hissed. Ava, he thinks you're me. The contract is legally binding. That man belongs to me. Ava's tears burned. People aren't property. But money is, Arya snapped. And Xavier is my ticket out of this miserable life. Ava's heart cracked in two. Her sister wasn't coming back for love, she was coming back for wealth. Before Ava could speak, she heard a knock at the door.
Xavier.
Her pulse spiked.
Ava?
Can we talk? Arya heard the name. What did he just call you? Silence.
Ava.
Tell me he didn't call you by your real name. Ava couldn't breathe. Listen, Arya whispered darkly, if Xavier finds out, he could ruin us.
Both of us.
Stick to the plan.
Keep pretending.
Until I decide what to do. But when Ava opened the door, Xavier looked troubled. Your sister just called me, he said slowly. She wants to meet tomorrow. She said it's urgent. Ava's world crumbled beneath her feet.
Everything.
The love blooming. The fragile trust. The stolen moments. Was about to collapse. Because the real Arya was coming. And she could destroy everything Ava never meant to feel. Ava barely slept. Morning came with a sharp, cold dread. Xavier picked her up for the meeting with Arya, but the car ride was silent, too silent. His jaw was tight, his eyes unreadable. Ava felt the distance widening between them like an ocean. They arrived at an upscale cafe. And there she was. Ava Sinclair. Bold, flawless, terrifying. The twin Ava could never mimic completely. Arya stood and smiled sweetly, too sweetly. Xavier. Darling. Xavier froze. And everything Ava feared. Every suspicion, every difference, every inconsistency. Crashed into him like a tidal wave. His eyes snapped to Ava. Explain, he commanded, voice icy. Ava's throat closed. Xavier. Arya stepped in smoothly. I can explain. She took my place. Xavier's glare sharpened. Why would she? Arya shrugged carelessly. I panicked. Ava helped me. You know how loyal she is. But Xavier wasn't looking at Arya anymore. He was staring at Ava. You lied to me, he whispered. The hurt in his voice stabbed deeper than anger ever could. Ava's tears spilled. I didn't want to. I was trapped. If I didn't help Arya, she would have lost everything. And I mattered where in that equation? Xavier snapped. Ava flinched. Xavier stood abruptly. The contract is void. This marriage ends today. Arya gasped. Wait, you can't just walk away. Oh, I can, Xavier said coldly. And I will. He turned to leave. But Ava grabbed his hand, tears streaming. Xavier, please? He looked back and for a moment heartbreak flickered in his eyes. Don't, he whispered. I don't know what was real anymore. And as he walked away, Ava collapsed into the chair. Her heart, the one she never planned to give him, shattered completely. Ava moved out that night. She packed quietly, tears slipping onto her clothes as she folded them. Every corner of the penthouse reminded her of him. His voice, his warmth, the almost kiss, the safety she felt but never deserved. She left her wedding ring on the counter. A soft metal goodbye. Arya didn't apologize. She never would. In fact, she scoffed. Love. Really, Ava? That man is a billionaire. Not a fairy tale. But Ava didn't reply. Her heart was too heavy to argue. Days passed. Then weeks. And though Xavier Hale returned to running empires, nothing felt right to him anymore. Coffee tasted bitter. Meetings bored him. Nights were too silent. His assistant noticed. You seem distracted, sir. Xavier didn't deny it. Everywhere he went, he saw her. Ava's shy smiles. Her kindness. Her honesty. Her trembling voice as she tried to tell him the truth. He hated that she lied. But he hated living without her even more. Meanwhile, Ava started working at a small local library. It was quiet, peaceful, but empty. Because every time the door chimed, she hoped it was him. One rainy afternoon, the kind that used to make Ava run to Xavier for comfort, she finally broke down behind the counter. "I love him," she whispered to no one. She didn't hear the door open. Didn't hear the footsteps approaching. Didn't know she was no longer alone until a deep, familiar voice said, "Ava?" Her heart stopped. She looked up. And Xavier Hale stood there, drenched from the rain, eyes soft with something fragile. Something real. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. Ava's breath trembled. Because maybe, just maybe, the story wasn't over yet. Xavier stepped closer, droplets sliding from his hair onto his jacket. Ava stood frozen behind the counter, heart thundering painfully. He looked different, less polished, more human, as though the weeks without her had carved a quiet ache through his soul. "Ava," he repeated gently, "I need to talk to you." She wiped her tears with shaky hands. "Why are you here?" Xavier exhaled, voice low. "Because I've spent weeks trying to forget you. And I can't." Ava's breath hitched. "Xavier, I never meant to hurt you." He nodded slowly. "I know that now." He stepped closer. "But you need to understand something. I don't fall for people. I don't trust easily. But with you, everything was different. I didn't know why then. But I do now." Ava swallowed hard. "Why?" "Because it was you," he whispered. "Not Arya. Not the contract. The way you cared. The way you listened. The way you looked at me like I mattered beyond money." A sob escaped her. Xavier reached out, his fingers brushing hers. "You made me feel something real. And when I found out the truth, I didn't know how to handle it." "I should have told you," she whispered. "And I should have listened," Xavier replied softly. "We both made mistakes." He took a trembling breath. "Ava, do you still want us?" Her heart broke open. "More than anything." Xavier cupped her face gently. "Then come back to me. Not as Arya. Not as a lie. As Ava Sinclair, the woman I fell for without even realizing it." Their lips met in a soft, trembling kiss, one filled with apology, longing, and a love finally allowed to exist. When they pulled apart, Xavier whispered, "Let's start over." Ava nodded, tears of relief glowing in her eyes. And for the first time, love wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. 3 months later, the sun lit the private garden behind Xavier's estate. Flowers lined the aisle. Soft music floated through the warm air. Ava stood in a flowing ivory dress, not Arya's style, not the dress from the contract wedding. This one was hers. Soft, elegant, honest. Xavier waited at the altar, eyes warm, proud, overflowing with a love he no longer hid. As Ava walked toward him, she felt the past lift from her shoulders. No more pretending. No more lies. Just the truth they fought their way back to. When she reached him, Xavier took her hands. "You know, this time I'm nervous," he teased softly. Ava smiled. "Why?" "Because this time it matters." She laughed, light, beautiful. "Me too." The officiant began, but neither of them could stop staring at each other. "I choose you," Xavier whispered under his breath. "I choose you too," Ava replied. They exchanged vows written from their own hearts, promises of honesty, partnership, and the kind of love that grows out of imperfection, not perfection. When Xavier lifted her veil, his eyes shimmered. "Ava Hale," he whispered, "that has a beautiful ring to it." Their kiss sealed not just a marriage, but a truth finally lived. In the crowd, Arya watched quietly. For the first time, she saw the difference between desire and love, between wanting money and wanting someone who chooses you every day. She left without a word. But maybe Ava hoped she'd someday find her own path. Later that night, Xavier wrapped Ava into his arms as they swayed under fairy lights. "You were never the wrong twin," he murmured. "You were always the right one." Ava's heart glowed. Because she didn't just pretend to be someone else. She became the woman someone powerful, broken, and beautiful learned to love. Thank you so much for watching this heart-melting romance. If you enjoyed the twists, the tension, and the love that conquered everything, don't forget to support the channel. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.